So, so what the Human Rights Act did in allowing the people to take the cases, breaches of the Human Rights Act, to UK courts, it led to a huge rise in applications for judicial review. Now, judicial review, as we know, is simply a process by which judges rule on the lawfulness of an action taken by a public body or official. And following the Human Rights Act, individuals and campaigning groups could now, for the first time, request judicial reviews on the grounds of human rights. So in 2002, for example, judges ruled that aspects of the Mental Health Act breach human rights, leading to the Act being amended. And in the 2004 Belmarsh case, judges ruled that the indefinite detention of foreign terror suspects, which was part of the Parliament's emergency legislation following the 2001 September 11th attacks in the USA, breached the Human Rights Act. And again, the law was amended in response. So cases such as these show how the Human Rights Act has allowed judges to intervene in political matters much more extensively than was previously the case, even leading to Acts of Parliament being amended in response to their rulings. So there is an argument that what we're seeing here is judicial activism, right? It's also sometimes known as kind of making policy from the bench, from the judicial bench, the judges being involved in making government policy and even Acts of Parliament. That's the argument, that the Human Rights Act has allowed for that to happen. It's given a much greater role for judges in being able to intervene in policy and Acts of Parliament. The final reform, which has supposedly politicised the judiciary, is the Constitutional Reform Act of 2005. Now, it's this act, as we know, that created the Supreme Court, which started operating in October 2009. Before that, the highest court of appeal was the House of Lords, specifically the 12 senior judges known as the Law Lords. Now, supporters of the politicisation thesis argue that by removing the judicial powers of the House of Lords and placing them in a separate court, the Supreme Court has given the highest court in the land a greater public profile and increased its independence. Now, on the one hand, its higher public profile has focused more media attention on the court's rulings and thus has politicised the judges in the sense of forcing them to be more aware of the public's reception. So we looked, for example, at the tabloid newspaper reaction to the Supreme Court ruling on EU withdrawal in January 2017, where they were branded enemies of the people by the Daily Mail. The effect of these has been to increase the power and assertiveness of the judiciary, as well as giving them hugely increased scope to challenge the government on human rights grounds. In other words, they have pushed the judiciary into the political fray.